I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and with me today is a special guest who many of you know very well, Otto Ikonen of Finland, the reigning silver medalist of the Mind Sports Olympiad and the world record holder for the highest ELO on board game arena in classical Carcassonne, also known with his screen name Nalleheim. Hi, Otto.
Hello everyone, it's glad to be back in the action, kindly provided by Alexey upon making a slight request. So hopefully I'll be able to bring some extra valuable commentating on the matches today.
Oh, no doubt about that. There's a specific reason I wanted to invite you not to just a match, because there's many of those on, but this match in particular. Of course, as usual, we're witnessing the decisive event or close to the decisive event of the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League qualification cycle, and in the lower bracket of the second group of the second qualification tournament, meant for second and third places of winners of national online championships of certain countries. 71 Knives of Belgium and Rodaz of Moldova will be fighting for their tournament survival. It is a double elimination system, and each of them have already one loss. And we can see here in the tournament table that waiting for them, whoever's gonna win this match, right there is Nalleheim. So not only will be commenting, we're going to be doing a bit of research for your next match. So you've already played 71 Knives in the first match, which was partially on stream. This one you managed to win 2-0. Anything you can say about your former opponent? Or also do let us know, have you played Rodaz, the Moldovan player, before? Who would you expect to win? Do you have any preferences as to who you would be rooting for, or will you be more of a neutral observer?
Well, I certainly do like the chances of 71 Knives actually here. Despite beating him earlier, I think he's a more of a stable player who does seemingly kind of like to go like very who likes to play more conservatively and like take less risks upon based on a few of his games I have recently watched, whereas Rodaz he's a more of a typical expert whose plays make sense, but I think he makes a little more mistakes on prioritization issues, and just in general, like Rodaz, to my liking, has more issues with optimization of tiles, and that often does come to be the one of the decisive factors in the long run with your win percentage in general. So that is why I do indeed like or prefer Knives' chances today. And also, since Knives has had a bit of a long-ish or long journey so far. I mean, he won one match in the winners bracket, and then was sent to the losers bracket by me, and he basically got no progress from the first match, so that it's kind of an rough situation. But so far, I mean, he has been kind of cruising through the lower bracket, and this is maybe another chance to do so. And like you have said earlier on other streams, he's definitely eager to kick my ass on the next match if he gets the chance to do so.
Otto, my channel family friendly, please, as far as possible. But
Okay.
I can certainly understand the enthusiasm for the rematch. Yeah, of course. I mean, for those of you who don't know, like 90% of my viewers, of course, have seen your channel as well, but for those of you who are just joining, of course, you need to subscribe to Otto to Nalaheim as well after this. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Otto on a bit of an involuntary hiatus from content creation, but he will be coming back with a vengeance in 2025, no doubt about that. But for now, all eyes on 71 Knives, who's playing with the yellow meeples against the red meeples of Rodaz of Moldova. Moldova participating in this tournament for the first time. Belgium already a few years. And 71 Knives gets the first city for 4 points, starts a new one, slight advantage. The better tile, a road tile, goes for Rodaz, and he thinks what to do. So Otto, do you just want to continue your road at the bottom indirectly, setting up a platform to sort of harass Yellow City at the bottom a little bit, or do you want to go straight up on the right or at the top to try and create a blocking platform against the Yellow City at the top, or do you prefer to do something else entirely?
I like Rodaz's move here. I mean, I would just indirectly continue my road, just create another platform. I don't think that the top city is all that important. I mean, what it's worth, I mean, the lower city is almost worth exactly the same, except that it is not restricted. And so, and even if we get the city of Knives restricted at the top, then it usually doesn't really favor us that much, because if we don't get it blocked completely, usually the case is that Knives at some point draws a city cap, and then we get 1 more point to our road, but we still are left with our unfinished road, whereas our opponent just got a meeple back and is living the best life.
Well, and it looks like the Moldovan player has agreed with you, didn't really bother with going blocking. Instead, he's starting another road with this lovely crossroads over here. Also dropped an early farmer, which is pretty interesting. I've noticed that he has been prioritizing fields quite a bit. 71 Knives, however, first with the first monastery and a slight advantage. Still 6 points for the player with the yellow meeples. Also, this field is not that big. Plenty of green squares, but most of these green squares are under yellow's control because they're part of yellow's monastery. Rodaz now with the triple city tile starting a city at the top, meeples it. Now potentially thinking of either connecting over here, but it doesn't work as immediately 71 Knives gets the starting tile, 6 points on the yellow scoreboard. Now slightly vulnerable square over here, not a big deal, but you know, in some situations yellow goes over here and then over here and blocks the square, given that only 2 out of the 4 road tiles are remaining. But overall, of course, not too dangerous of a placement for red. Rodaz now with the curve, not the easiest tile. As the Moldovan, I'm pretty sure I have an idea what Otto's gonna do. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like go over here at the bottom and put that thorn into Yellow City, or were you having any other ideas, Otto?
I think both ways actually work here, so pointing left or right. Pointing left does have the advantage that it does grow the size of the field, and then we can potentially create more cities down at the bottom, whilst at the same time creating a blocking platform on the city of Knives. But pointing to the right, it does limit Knives, the options of Knives a little bit. It doesn't really help us that much, I think, because we can't really place a triple city with a road to finish our lower road in case we direct the road to the right, because we need the same time. We need the same tile at the city above as well. So I think pointing to the left is actually more preferable here, and it doesn't really matter if Knives can easily more easily continue his city, because he can't drop a farmer immediately. Like an extender or a tube divider, it's not really an issue, exactly because he cannot drop a farmer. And in case of an extender, I mean, we can immediately attack the city anyway. Plus, whenever he continues the well, continues or finishes the city, then it does also provide us an opportunity to possibly restrict his monastery.
Right, and actually it looks like the Moldovan player is a copycat of Nalaheim's move, as he indeed chose to the left, expand that field. In the meantime, 71 Knives managed to capitalize on that. It did cost him a road end, but he ended up equalizing this road and sharing those 6 points. In the meantime, Red tried to continue blocking Red City, starting a new city cap, putting a new city cap in his field, expanding his field. Now this meeple over here is vulnerable, and Red drew a monastery, place it in the most highest scoring spot, now going to block Red's meeples as well, and basically control 2 of Yellow's meeples with 1 monastery meeple or Red, whilst Carl just starting a new city on the left, away from Yellow's field, and will be looking to continue maybe with a Dorito tile over here, or possibly starting a new city with a Dorito tile somewhere on the right, perhaps. No, instead he starts at the bottom. I really like the new city here, and also I guess it makes his own city ever so slightly safer. And, well, we're gonna see in a second how the Moldovan reacts with the city cap, but just first wanted to catch up on the chat a little bit. Yeah, and he does block indeed. Meeple's yet another city, so this 1 point guy will be trapped forever with 1 point. Now also this blocked monastery with 6 points will capitalize on the extra points provided to it by Yellow, if Yellow manages to get his meeples back alive, which is still a big if. Rodaz now with the tile that he needs in multiple places, so that would actually be pretty interesting. Needs to finish the city here, needs to finish the city here, needs to attack that guy too, and also of course needs to finish his road at the top and continue his city. So he would love to just copy this tile and clone this tile and put it in all those places, but there are only 3 of those in the deck, and he needs it in 4 different places, and the rules of the game are such that you can only draw and play 1 tile at a time, so he'll have to make do. Just catching up on the chat really quickly. Hi Amiris, hi Andres, hi Pichan, hi Craft Giraffe, apparently rooting for Carl. Do let me know if anybody's rooting for Moldova to balance out. I don't think I have many Moldovan viewers, if any, so if you are there, make yourself known. I do know that I have quite a lot of Belgian viewers, Otto, do you agree with Rodaz's prioritization here? I see you kind of shaking your head already about finishing this city on the left instead of finishing the road at the top or attacking the city meeple on the right.
No, actually, I very much like Rodaz's prioritization here, and maybe the stuff that I was saying about him with his of his lack of prioritization is kind of coming back to bite me, as I do think that it is super important to get these first cities on the field to be able to ensure that we can be happy about our initial field meeple, and we can finish our road at the top with triple cities also, and attacking the City of Knives with this specific tile, I don't think is the priority, just because it is just, too good to be used elsewhere. Like if we start using these sort of tiles on our well, more or less on our opponent's features and try to attack them, it could take a long while for us to get as great tiles again, which I'm not a fan of just waiting, especially when we need them to so many places. I think we just have to take a bit of a risk, like Rodaz did here, and just get like immediate points on the board, get some meeples back, or get some more scoring potential in the form of another road, like Rodaz did. And we can use other city tiles with field there to then attack the City of Knives. And if Knives would have gotten a city cap straight away, finished his 8-point city and a drop of farmer, then I mean it's all right still, because we did get out of a kind of a sticky situation with our one meeple, and we still would have a chance to drop another farmer upon finishing the second 1-point city at the bottom.
Right, and of course, finishing the second city at the bottom will now a little bit harder, as we've seen some development. So Rodaz, in addition to prioritizing the city below, so Meeple the road, now completing by starting a new monastery over here. Another thing that he didn't shy away from using a shielded tile, but the attempt is to block 2 Meeples off. Yellow converging on this square, maybe later going here and here. Now there are only 2 tiles that fit into this square, and of course later Rodaz will want to make sure that there are 0 tiles that fit into this square. In the meantime, Carl finishes a monastery for 9 points, is now 9 points ahead on the scoreboard, but the field control still belongs to Rodaz, and he's now trying to take care of blocking of this meeple. So both the red meeple over here and the yellow meeples over here need the same starting tile. There are 2 of those in the deck, so 1 for each, with the most likely tile run out. But of course, in half of the cases, both of these tiles will be drawn by 1 player, but it might not even matter, as Rodaz is preparing a blocking attack. 71 Knife doesn't draw a direct defense. He does get an indirect defense. I assume he might go over here on the right, adding 1 point to his monastery, and also significantly reducing the number of tiles that fit into that square. That would
also, especially given that Rodaz would need those blocking tiles elsewhere, as anyways, or most of them.
Right, exactly. So he needs the triple city with the road at the top to finish his road, as you already before mentioned. He kind of needs the Dorito with the road at the same purposes. So I was thinking that maybe if we take the triple city with the road, our city at the top becomes like a little bit clunky. We might also want to, well, first of all, I mean, we're going to draw what we're going to draw, right? But let's say if we draw a Dorito with the road, that also nicely goes there at the top, setting up a lift-shaped city. Maybe we're running a bit short on Doritos for a lift-shaped city because there's 5 of those available. But in either case, good move here from the Belgian, make it much harder to block. And had he not played there, Rodaz would have already, in a heartbeat, placed the curve over here and completely block the square. So that's actually not going to work out, at least yet. Rodaz placing his last meeple on a road. Still plenty of road tiles available for him to get his road meeple back, but of course he's going to meeple the road. His screen name is Rodaz. Sorry about that. 3 points go to 71 Knives scoreboard, 1 monastery point as compensation for red. Straight line for the Moldovan. Not anything to do in particular. We can't really go over here to add a point to our monastery because we could get blocked. So instead, he decides to harass a 71 Knife city a little bit, but it shouldn't be a problem for the Belgian, as he immediately draws a city cap to recover.
Yeah, regarding actually that curve which Rodaz used to take a 4-point loop road, I think it would have been potentially even better to just calmly add 1 point to his monastery, because he only had 1 meeple. It's not like a new monastery placement would have been extremely juicy one. And if he had done that, just added 1 point to his monastery, then he would be able to use some other inconsequential road tiles, such as the straight road, to further get 1 more point to his monastery without running the risk of getting it blocked immediately.
Yeah, great point, actually. So he was actually forced to basically discard a road tile, but had the curve been over here, he would have already placed a straight line over here, greatly increasing the chances of him getting a monastery meeple back. And it does seem to be that meeple count will be quite important for this game, as Rodaz needs to compensate for his lack on the scoreboard with something more than just these 2 points. The situation here at the north seems to have been a bit frozen. Of course, there's still plenty of the tiles in the deck that can help him lately, but the meeple minority, even the temporary meeple minority for red isn't great, and certainly finishing his monastery would have helped, but it still ended up working out for him just fine, as 4 points for the road were added to Rodaz's scoreboard. Of course, these were net 3 points because he accidentally helped yellow with his monastery over here, but yellow now with a fantastic tile, Dorito with a road, probably going to over here at the monastery, protecting the square, leaving a 75% chance of getting this starting tile and freeing up not 1 but 2 meeples. 9 points for the monastery and 12 points for here. He's probably thinking whether to meeple the city. He decided to meeple the city, which I quite like, but there was a crazier option, of course. He could have even meepled the field and tried to gamble all his game on one of these 2 tiles. This, of course, would allow him a field connection upon completion. Rodaz now with a lovely move, dropping a city cap on the right, making it a bit harder for 71 Knives to continue his construction, also making it so that he cannot continue building the city and drop a farmer at the same time. But Carl doesn't care, as he simply has other stuff to do on the other parts of the board. His scoreboard lead is already almost plus 20. An 8-point city completed on the left, also a potential counter field of 9 points to be occupied by the player with the more meeples in the future, which is of course yellow. Red in the meantime continues his plans, gets another city into the field, so that's a 7-point move for Rodaz. Of course, this exposes a field connection platform potentially, but what this exposes more is the vulnerability of yellow square. And whilst not succeeding to block this meeple over here, Red will now try to block the other meeple of 71 Knives, and as far as I noticed, this was the last left-handed dagger, so that means that with a curve over here, with the placement of the curve over here, he would be completely blocking off this yellow meeple. And now Carl with an extender tile looking to defend, but not. He decides to start a counter block, which is quite interesting, and Rodaz doesn't get a defense tile for this meeple, doesn't get a blocking tile of his own. So I wonder, what do you do here? Do you just drop the divider in your field to get more points? Do you go over here and develop your city at the top? Do you try and use it at the bottom and start an 8-point city like this, hoping for another city cap? Or do you try to continue your monastery and try to draw some city caps to score points and get your monastery meeple back as soon as possible, or something else entirely?
I honestly don't know what I would prefer. I mean, if I would be playing by instinct, I would just say that add 1 point to the monastery and just forget the city caps, or just lay them down there and hope for more city caps to come. Investing the final meeple at this stage seems a bit rough, actually, because he doesn't have all that many times to get meeples back, given that this new potential 8-point city is in immediate, well, I would say in an immediate threat to get attacked, whilst his monastery in the center is blocked. His 1-point city will or should be blocked right now, and the 1-point city at the top is, honestly, I don't really even see that coming back, given that he has good uses for city caps elsewhere, and it would take a long while for him to build the city up with just triple cities and triangles. But we were Knives does something completely and utterly inexplicable.
Well, I wouldn't say it's inexplicable. I would just go like unexpected. You know, like starting a 6-point field. It's not a horrible move. It's not a horrible move. And
okay, maybe.
Yeah.
I might be a little over dramatic here. Like it's not a bad move in a sense, but like given that you have 3 meeples in a hand, your opponent has none, and your opponent also has not that many tiles to get meeples back, I would highly prioritize here just inflicting as much pain to your opponent as possible in the form of not allowing any extra meeples back to his hand with the starting tiles. Well, of course, he would be able to use the starting tiles elsewhere to complete the 8-point city, but like, come on, Rodaz definitely wants to finish that 1-point city there.
If he gets a chance, of course. But I think that's actually pretty interesting because sort of you were saying that that meeple on the left is in immediate danger, and now it sort of got attacked. But I kind of like Rodaz's idea to start a new city over here because it's a bit behind on the scoreboard, sort of needs to gamble a little bit. And you see what now 71 Knives has done. So he has placed this straight line to obstruct the city on the left, but this also actually kind of defends Red City on the right. And but if he were to block Red City on the right, which I think would still be the best move because it's a 100% block, so with this tile that he ended up using for farming, then this would actually obstruct this square, which would in turn make Rodaz's city much safer. So geometrically, kind of normally it's a bad idea to have two meeples next to each other, but they are just far enough apart to make sure that you can only attack one of them at a time. And Rodaz now manages to get a curve, and he's probably going to defend. I think it's something that's worth doing unless we're running short on city caps. And now I'm actually starting to wonder, does 71 Knives even have blocking tiles here? Also, is it crazy to just ignore that spot and simply start building up our monastery here as red right now?
I mean, given that there are only like 2 monasteries or so as blocking tiles, there are no filled Doritos. I mean, there's like 1 splitter. Yeah, now that you mentioned, the blocking tiles that Knives has are more valuable elsewhere because now he has the field. So I definitely would not even actually bother defending that square. Okay, blocking the City of Knives is, I mean, it's decent, yeah, because now it does take away like even the little options that Knives had regarding that city, but I would still maybe prefer just getting 1 point to the monastery and at some point try to get that people back, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly enticing to have your opponent's meeple block complete with just 1 move. It's also makes it harder to invade that field, actually, because now this invasion through this square is not possible. Invasion only through this square is possible, but it's actually kind of hard because a lot of these field plus field tiles have gone out. We see that Rodaz did successfully finish his city for 8 points. He now has a meeple back, 10 points behind still on the scoreboard, and Carl did manage to develop a field on the left. Notice how interesting that he drew one of those valuable blocking tiles that he was talking about, but it was so valuable that instead of blocking Red's meeple, he just chose to take 7 points of his own, 4 points for the city, 3 point of field, now extra quick point for the monastery. And also after this tile has been drawn, which I believe was the last vanilla city cap. So we don't have vanilla city caps and we don't have Doritos, which means that the only tile that fits into this square at the top for Red City is actually a city splitter. So Carl earlier with a slightly annoying move from Red's perspective, making it actually much harder for the Moldovan to complete his city at the top. Now a city tile, a big tile for Rodaz. A variety of options here could either add a monastery point at the bottom, trying to develop it and get that meeple back. Could maybe continue his city at the top, trying to turn that into a ruin. The downside, of course, it would obstruct his road ever so slightly endanger this road. He could make a positional move, maybe going to the right, eliminating the little chances that yellow had for invading the field through that platform, or some other ideas. So from these options, Otto, which one do you prefer?
From those options, I think I would just add a monastery point here, or maybe even as a fourth kind of a backup option, even close down the field entrance on the right. But I kind of feel like if Knives is going to attack the 9-point field, then he's going to do that through the starting tile. But like if it gets that, because right now it does not actually even seem that he is going to need to attack the field, because he has a field of his own and he can even meeple a 6-point field on the left if he gets the right tile to do so. So maybe the field protection is a bit unnecessary, and trying to get just 1 point here, 1 point there to the monastery, maybe even getting it back in the very best case scenario, is a very decent option here.
Yeah, and actually, the more I think about this, I probably want to leave the field connection open for the right, from the right, because I understand from like as Red's perspective that from Red's perspective we're behind. So what we could do, we can hope that Yellow wastes a meeple on attacking the field on the right, and then simply doesn't draw whichever tile he needs to connect, which would probably be a vanilla monastery or something like this. Rodaz cleans off a city cap in 71 Knives field. Note how the Belgian continues his own city. I wonder if that was a miscount, if he thinks that it is still completable, or that was simply an attempt to add 2 points, possibly because he didn't want to take the 6-point city at the bottom. We won't find out unless we actually brain scan Carl here, but I don't think any of this will going to matter soon enough, because the first of the 2 starting tiles has been drawn by the Belgian. 12-point city goes to 71 Knives, 9-point monastery goes to 71 Knives, scoreboard lead of 30 points goes to 71 Knives, 4 meeples in hand goes to 71 Knives, erodes for Rodaz, 5 points, but 5 points are hardly enough to beat what 71 Knives has in store. Also a splitter tile, the last tile that fits into that square, so this city is not being finished, and so much damage can be inflicted with this tile. I mean, do you take the field at the bottom for 6 points with a chance to connect? Do you take the field at the left for 6 points with a chance to maybe double those city caps? So pick which one of the 71 Knives that you have available in this position to stick in your opponent's pride and honor here.
I would definitely just go the very safe way, just getting another field on the left, making sure that Rodaz does not have any ideas of attacking there. And like, if in case we would be taking the 6-point field at the bottom, it's gonna be adding 1 point to the monastery of Rodaz, which is, I mean, it doesn't really matter all that much, because I don't think the meeple is going to matter at this stage anymore. So I would just take the safest option possible. Like, there might be some chances that, oh my god, might be some chances that the field that the 2 fields on the left would still be merged by Rodaz, but he would have to use 2 tiles on it. So, and even if they would merge, it's not really all that bad, because they might even increase in size. But Knives does none of that. Instead, he does exactly what you were kind of hoping to see as Rodaz. So so Knives is attacking the field, although it is 12 points now, so like it is worth attacking, with like 2 monasteries still remaining. But I think as Rodaz, you should definitely be happy about this decision, because now, like, if you have any chances of winning this game, I mean, this might be just that, just hoping that you draw the 2 monasteries and that Knives just spent a meeple on 3 points.
Yeah, so that's already 3 points instead of 6 points. And I'm also thinking that there are even some scenarios how Red successfully connects over here, how Yellow successfully connects and Red even reconnect. Because one of the reasons I was thinking for 71 Knives to occupy the bottom field, well, which he actually now does, which I think really like, and that should be exceedingly unpleasant for the player with the red meeples, because there's still a starting tile available, and before this yellow meeple over here, Red could finish his city and drop a 9-point farmer, which could serve 2 purposes. it could either, re-attack the main field and reclaim ownership of it, or in case he draws all the monasteries, he could actually just keep the two fields separate. So he could keep the yellow meeple at bay from the right by just simply outdrawing him. He would have a 15-point field in the center and a 9-point field at the bottom. So he would be scoring twice for these 3 cities. That's 24 points. That's already some hope for all of our Moldovan fans if they're watching. But of course, the 71st knife is cutting this hope away, as this field is pre-meepled by Carl anyway. So maybe that was his idea, actually. Maybe he's planning to meeple all the fields. And then after this attack, he's going to go on the left and meeple that 6-point field too.
You know what we could do? We could go as Rodaz. We could limit the field connection of knives at the top to the road monastery. Then we hope to get the final remaining starting tile, finish our 1-point road at the bottom, drop a 3-point farmer at the bottom, then get a road monastery ourselves and connect to that 9 or then a 12-point field and get the points for the monastery as well.
Yep, I was drawing all of that you said right on the screen. Lovely idea here, absolutely. So I think he actually needed to restrict over here. One thing that he did not want to do is, I think one of the reasons he didn't want to do that is that would expose his city to attack, but City Schmitty, that doesn't matter. Like what you were suggesting probably sounded like the best possible plan that you can have with 24 points behind on the scoreboard. While 71 Knives is thinking where to place the city tile, a variety of options, he could finally meeple the 6-point field on the left with no threat of the two fields being merged, so he would be scoring twice for those 2 points. He could just meeple a 6-point ruin at the bottom and then meeple the field later with a different tile. He could go protect his field at entrance at the top, which would be a bit too chickeny to my taste with 7 tiles remaining, only in a 24-point lead. But as he thinks, let's catch up on the chat a little bit. Hi. Hi Sparkle Horsey. Wisemay is pointing out that Carl's time management is excellent. Well, it's actually excellent for commenting because we actually have time to talk through the moves in detail as Rodaz finishes his city for 8 points and gets a bit closer on the scoreboard, but 71 Knives gets the road monastery, and sadly, the idea of any field invasion is not going to work. Carl going to place it on the right and probably share the field with the Moldovan. The Moldovan will be looking to re-attack, but 7 monastery points definitely will be useful for Carl here. So
is it actually all that worth it though? Like, should Knives just play like super safe and like not even connect? Just take like, I don't know, 2 points somewhere, because maybe Rodaz could then just reconnect from the top with the final remaining regular monastery.
Yeah, I was thinking, so like sometimes actually when you're attacking your opponent's field, but you're ahead overall, you don't want to connect and you don't want to gain those. So going for the monastery here and meepling it for 7 points, that would be a 16-point move. So that's a really difficult deal to turn down. So he's merging... no, that's a 13-point move, actually. So he's merging a 6-point field together with a 12-point field of his opponent. Rodaz now probably going to finish his city at the bottom and drop a farmer. And then on his penultimate tile, he'll try to re-attack the field or something like this. Yeah, but the reason for this, why sometimes I like to avoiding moves like these, is because your opponent could still then later re-attack the field, reclaim it, and all you've done, you've made the field bigger, and you ended up not getting the points for that anyway. So with a closer score, of course, I like invading with a score like this, probably just taking 2 points, or even using the monastery as a blocking tile, preventing Rodaz from completing his city. That was also another option. Well, let's see what the Moldovan has to offer here with the starting tile. He's not finishing his city immediately. He's thinking of doing something else, and he chooses to attack the field on the left, which is understandable. I wouldn't do it. I still would prefer to finish the city at the bottom, and then I would attack the field on the left with this tile over here. If
I
that
might
is
have
still
actually
possible. Yeah.
preferred even a completely different idea. I might have just gone like on the right, finish that, finish the 4-point city on the right, and instead of taking the field, instead of taking the city points, just drop a farmer, because there was still one crossroad and one curvy tile remaining.
Yep, and he gets both of them actually. And this would not have been blocked, so a 15-point opportunity was not utilized. 18-point opportunity, actually, because going over there on the right would have completed the city. Even though he wouldn't score for it, this city would still be in the field, and the field would be worth 18 points. But now it looks like, despite all the wonderful field control initially by red, overall in this game, yellow will be outscoring red on the farms.
So there was even some potential there, or more of like a well, I'm not sure of the percentages, but there was still a chance to actually place the crossroad, which Rodaz just took 2 points with, I think, from the left. Just next to the crossroad that is above the left field, and drop a farmer, and then still connect to that 12-point field via curve.
Yeah, a 15-point field now. You mean by the Dorito with the curve, right? That he just drew, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And actually, that was a 1 in 3 chance because all the other tiles were unblockable. Yeah, so Wiseman is saying in the chat that in the particular run out, your idea would not have worked because 71 Knives drew a monastery. So he could have used it as a blocking tile if he had precisely calculated that it was actually a blocking tile. But given that it was the only blocking tile in the deck, I think it was still a good plan. Yeah, so I doubt that it would have been... Wait, it could have been enough. No, it would not have been enough, right? It would not have been enough. Yeah, 71 Knife just has way too much stuff, and now all his other field points will be counted. He's going to get 12 points extra, and so on and so on. But you know, one general thing that I can see, a general tendency with many expert players, that they're very solid, but they just don't recognize when they're far enough behind that you need to start risking a lot, and sort of... Sometimes you, like, of course you don't want to go too crazy, but always you want to play with the right amount of crazy for the game situation. If you're a little bit behind, start risking a little bit. If you're a lot behind, start risking a lot. You don't want to be risking a lot when you're a little bit behind. You don't want to be risking a little bit when you're a lot behind. When you're a lot behind, you want to be risking a lot. And risking a little bit is what Rodaz did. Even that sadly didn't pay off. But overall, I have to say, really solid performance for the Moldovan. Like, I can't him fault for any obvious mistakes, beyond for some imprecisions after this fate of the game was decided.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, a bit of a recollection. I said about with the words of Rodaz being an expert player, and all his moves make sense, and there's more like a bit of optimization stuff that he needs to improve on. But the obvious mistakes, I mean, we didn't see all that much, like you said, if any.
Yeah, and actually interesting, it's that optimization stuff, at least in the early parts of the game and in the early middle game, that's something that he did seem to improve on. Because you remember in the middle of the game, there were always these tiles that he kept getting that he needed in 4 places, and he kind of typically went for the more efficient one. So still waiting for the right tile to finish his road at the top, being super patient basically the entire game. He just happened to not draw that tile for a very long time. Alright, so Rodaz now is going to be the starting advantage. Let's see how he plays the opening from this perspective. Red Meeple on a 2-point road. The Belgian now takes a straight line. Now the more of a standard move is to Meeple the straight line, but Carl chooses to leave it empty. What do you think about that, Otto?
I have to say I don't like it. It is that little bit of extra things at the beginning when you basically have to, or where basically maybe don't have to, but I prefer to meeple almost everything. just so that you actually have like some features that you can then start working on instead of having no features at all.
Yeah, well, now he does this anyway. Now he thought, like 1 point road, not good enough. 2 point road, let's go for it. So, this is one of those situations where actually the sequencing does end up not mattering, but there are some tile sequences where that matters a lot. For example, one of the players, let's say 71 Knives, could draw something like a barbed wire tile, take 4 points, and without this road meeple over here, maybe Rodaz draws a crossroads and scores 3 points for the road. Now, of course, that won't be possible as we have a yellow meeple over here, and both players are building up their road, so a bit of a slow start. Rodaz, now with the interesting tile, so what he does, I'm not actually sure what the truly best move in the situation is. Because normally what you want to do, you want to just clean off that city cap regardless, and I would do that in a heartbeat if this tile had, it was just a city plus road tile, but also giving that the 2 road ends to your opponent is a bit unpleasant. So do you agree with Rodaz's decision here, or would you have cleaned off the city cap anyway, Otto?
The decision of Rodaz is not the one that I would make. I would still say just clean off the city cap because, it does give like kind of 2 road ends to Knives, one directly and one indirectly, but it also does give us the road end if we get like 2 curves. So it does also benefit us in the form of being able to finish the road in a bit more efficient way, I'd say.
Yeah, well, that's not what he did, obviously, so we will have to witness a situation maybe that you're not that used to, because that's just not something that you do. That makes it all the more interesting. So, what do we have here? Carl tried to break Rodaz's city unsuccessfully as Rodaz draws a divider tile to attack 71 Knife cities on the right, which is something that he, I guess, kind of had to do, but I don't like being in a position like this. But at least it forces yellow to use a shielded tile to try and enter red city to force easy 8 points. Neither of the players has scored, but I just want to address a super interesting move by Rodaz, meepling a 3 points monastery, not going for the obvious 5 point spot, but going for the 3 point spot. And I'm pretty sure that was not a misclick. So, of course, I don't agree with this move. I'm pretty sure that you don't either, Otto. But I think the idea, I kind of like the depth of the idea behind this. It is setting up a 6 point monastery. So he wants to draw both monasteries over here in this square anyway, and he kind of saying that the order doesn't matter. And I guess he wanted to keep his road a little bit safer. He was afraid of a road invasion. I would say that the road invasion is not a big deal because of a meeple the monastery over here, and if yellow chooses to invade the road, well, all the power to them. They're building up our monastery, and sometimes we even draw crossroads to separate. So now Rodaz tries to block this city cap over here, whilst also restricting the road of 71 Knives. Now he's probably not going to finish his road. He's going to take 3 points at the top to proceed with his plan, I believe. Let's see if he does that.
Yeah, it is definitely interesting. Coming back to the monastery you mentioned, I mean, I'm not sure if I would agree that it's not a misclick, just because like this is such a rare occurrence for me to see, and one which I don't like one bit. But there is like some idea to what you said. I mean, maybe maybe Rodaz is indeed thinking to get like a road monastery there, but it just seems all too maybe a bit too hopeful, and maybe not like getting the whole picture of the board with the road situation, like you said. Like if the road gets attacked, then we are getting points on the monastery, and besides, like now we do have a good monastery spot there, like next to our own monastery, but we would have that anyways if we place it like one tile down. So it's not like it's going to net us a huge amount of more points.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that it won't for sure, but we both agree that Rodaz gets creativity points for sure. Wiseman in the chat saying that Monastery equals content move. Exactly, that's exactly what we want. I don't like when players care about winning the game more than they care about content moves. This is here what we watch for. Also, another content move over here. This is not what I expected, but we're going to address that later. So, yeah, of course, I think the main reason why this Monastery won't work out is because in the event that yellow draws a Monastery before you, yellow now is going to fill this more profitable hole. In case red draws a monster first, of course, it doesn't matter in which order you draw them, but if red gets the spot over here, then yellow forced to go on the top for fewer points, or maybe over here. But now yellow, if he draws the monastery, he could really inflict some pain on red. We're going to see if that happens. But I just want to further my point why I think it's not a misclick, timing-wise. Because he did think for like some 10 seconds, 10-15 seconds before the monastery placement. And then after placing, he placed the meeple instantly. And after a misclick, what I would expect is like, 5 seconds of regret. You like make a misclick, and then you just look at it. And then at least you're still forced to reassess the position, whether to meeple the monastery at all. But he did that instantly. So we can disagree with his plan, but that was part of his plan. Okay, meeple the 1-point road. Please meeple the 1-point road. Please do it. Just going for that extra bit of value. That would have been, I think, way too thin, but he's thinking about it. He's actually thinking about it. Oh, please do it. He does not. But he gets his road, and 71 Knives gets a wonderful tile as well that he can use for a variety of purposes. So that's interesting, actually. He's setting up 2 threats. He can either go at the bottom and block that square, which I like, or he could have gone all to the right and trying to eat up this city over here and draw a triple city. So out of these 2 things, which one will be the priority, Otto? So do you agree with Carl's priority to block the square, or would you have preferred to first go over here, not allow Rodaz to get a Dorito and free himself from that situation, and only then block that square?
I would definitely prioritize the potential of the overrun city first. I mean, it's not a huge deal if Rodaz connects to the 4-point ruin anyways. I mean, it's only like 1 extra point immediately with a road triangle. Of course, if he gets a triple city with a road, then it's 4 extra points. But still, I mean, there are other spots that Rodaz could use a triple city with a road also, because he still needs to block the road of knives for good. So.
And the triple with the road will be particularly devastating in that case. That should be the best blocking tile, because that would block this square, which would make sure that this meeple does not come back to yellow's hand. And that will also block this square, which would make sure that that road doesn't even develop further and it capped at 3 points. But he does not draw the triple city with the road. He draws just a regular straight road. It is good enough to block that square, but he will be donating up to 3 points to yellow, maybe, which of course is still worth the block. But I'm seeing that only 2 straight lines remaining, so maybe Carl doesn't even get to benefit from these extra road points. Now, of course, no time to think about that, as he has a city cap. I'm probably looking about starting a new city at the left. So what are your plans here for this? Yeah, so do you agree with Carl here, Otto?
I would say, yeah, that is the safest spot to start a city from, although like it is a bit of an inconvenience, I would say, for knives to leave a potential 3-point city for Rodaz, and it's not really what we would like to do. But still, it does provide the essentials of a block. So that's good foundations to continue from.
Right, yeah, and 71 Knives continued with the idea. Now the blocking platform has been created. Rodaz doesn't get a defense tile, and also one additional benefit from this move is that the Monastery of Rodaz is vulnerable, and also this evil hamster is a bit less vulnerable. But both players now going to trade blocks as the Moldovan player is now trying to abuse the Belgian meeple on the right, as I'm pretty sure 71 Knife will have his revenge soon on the left, just maybe not with this tile. It is a question still if he's just simply going to continue the city at the bottom, which was I prefer. He decided it's maybe a bit too early to start spending shielded tiles on blocking Rodaz's monasteries. And the curve now for the Moldovan could either add a monastery point, setting up a 9 points move over here for one of the players, really starting to gamble. Or maybe he could just defend his city a little bit, at the same time creating an attacking platform against this yellow guy. He chooses to do a bit of a hybrid move. So he goes for the attacking platform, but instead of defending his city, he defends the monastery. Now, I would have preferred defending the city rather, but first of all, Rodaz just knew that he was going to get the crossroads out on his next move, and as you said, this 3-point road that was so generously donated to the Moldovan by the Belgian is certainly of inconvenience to yellow, as he's down 17 points on the scoreboard. Now going to continue and complete his city. That will be 8 points extra, still going to be down 9 points after that. Hi, Sergey. Yeah, I'm not sure, Otto, if you're looking at the chat, but several people have said hi to you, including Sergey, saying glad to see you back after a long break. Yeah, until you can, basically, until you can sort out, your own technicalities. I can empathize with technical difficulties a lot, really a lot, so I totally get it, but until then you can just use my channel to get your content out, and I will benefit from that.
I have indeed been taking a look at the chat, and actually a quick note to Wise Maze, the parts have not actually arrived, but this is just an exception for me to be on Alexey's channel, just to get back to the streaming live in like somehow.
Well, yeah, because so to our viewers who might not be familiar, the technical requirements to actually set up a stream definitely exceeds a technical requirements that you need to just get on a video call. So guest appearances are still possible. Interesting that Rodaz chooses not to take this 3-point road and not to shorten 71 Knives road, but instead he chooses to add points to his monastery, setting up this 9-point hole. Not necessarily something that I would agree with, certainly a move which is gambling a little bit, but maybe in that situation, especially when you're playing against a high-rated opponent, gambling is what you want to do here, as read a little bit, Otto, or do you figure that due to your advantage on the scoreboard and on the meeples long term, you actually want to be playing a bit more cautiously?
Well, I think, I would like to say that what I think ultimately affected on this decision is simply like the net point count, because now when we take 2 points next to our monastery, it's 1 point in the monastery plus 2 from the roads. But if we take the 3 points from the other road, then we also give 1 point to knives, so it's only a net 2 move. And well, in like hindsight, I don't think it's actually that valuable of getting that 1 extra point immediately. I would prefer just cutting a knives road short. Plus, I haven't been counting the points exactly, but it does seem like to me that this 9-point monastery spot, or an immediate 9-point monastery spot, will benefit knives more, because he seemed to have been a bit behind, and this might have also been one of the reasons why knives did not start blocking the monastery of Rodaz with the cow tiles earlier, and instead just decided to add a few extra points on his ruin.
Yeah, of course, because he was also on the a bit behind. He kind of wants to also be efficient with the scoring. Yeah, so this is one of those cases where actually having an 8-point 8-point monastery hole next to your own monastery is more beneficial than having a 9-point hole next to your monastery. Now, here it matters a little bit less because both sides really have a lot of meeples. So, of course, 71 Knives would have meepled the 8-point monastery as well. But, like, with a lower number of meeples later in the game, especially with just one meeple per side, it can make a really big difference because it cannot allow your opponent to get back a meeple immediately. Now 71 Knives get the crossroads, probably going to get the 3 points, or he might even get greedy. He might want to get 3 points for the road at the bottom and then try to fill that hole here with a straight line. Doesn't get quite greedy, simply follows the same logic as Rodaz followed a few moves ago, which is just make the move with the greatest immediate point count, +3 for this road and +1 for the other roads, so that is simply the only 4-point move available. In the meantime, of course, some drama is brewing in the right parts of the board as city cups are being drawn, points are being gathered by both sides, mainly by Rodaz. A field potential is being created. We see that with this tile over here, Red at first created a threat of blocking the square entirely, but Carl successfully saved it, so there are now still 3 tiles that fit over here. Still has some work to do to recover his 3 city caps. If he does, he will be doing not so badly, because these 3 city caps will give him at least 12 points, and probably then some, as he'll add a shielded tile to his own city. He's just kind of figuring out which one and which direction. It is not an obvious choice. He goes for a city on the right, which I disagree with, but I understand where that logic is coming from. Maybe we're going to have time to address it later, as Rodaz now invades the ruin, decides that this Belgian city, I don't know what it's shaped like, it could be Antwerp, it could be Brugge, it is worth 9 points. It is too valuable, so it's worth the investment of a meeple. And he will most likely successfully share it, but at least it will mean that his 3-point meeple over here will look just as sad as Carl's 4-point meeple over there. Carl now with a city cap tile, figuring out which one of his cities to complete. That's actually not really obvious. Which one of the two do you choose, Otto, and why?
I mean, I would just go for the highest scoring move, because when Knives decided to continue their city with the shielded Dorito, I mean, I would honestly think that it would be the higher priority, because they are both attackable with with the same tiles essentially. Of course, the only difference there being that if the right hand side city is harassed, then it likely comes with a farmer from Rodaz. But I still like just finishing the left side city here as Knives, which he doesn't, well, I would say maybe unfortunately from my perspective do, because the field can be taken later, like he doesn't have to take it immediately.
Yeah, but this also kind of depends on which tile you are getting harassed by, because, for example, a move like with a straight road, that's kind of really, really annoying to deal with, and definitely, so this city is being a bit more annoying, and that's why 71 Knives actually decided to finish the city on the right. But something like the last remaining cow tile or the last remaining extender is way, way more annoying on the left, because it's setting up a blocking attack, potentially kind of almost blocking the square, so this could even eliminate the potency of this meeple entirely. So you see this last tile, if it were to be drawn by red, bam, it goes over here, and this guy is already suffering. He already needs a starting tile in another place, and there are no splitters remaining. Yeah, both of them are over here, so this meeple would be tied to that tile, but as Carl draws the last triple city, this threat will no longer be possible, so that's a great tile actually here for the Belgian. But just one exception, I'm not really sure what to do with it. We could maybe just add a city point to the left, which would also eliminate an attacking platform for red to add yet another meeple into the city. And then maybe in the future, if we somehow manage to block this square, then we get to preserve the 10 points majority. Yeah, really not all that much to do. We could also go over here at the top, slightly restricting the field of red, reducing some potentials for a big field fight, and also putting pressure a bit on the city cap on the north. Do you see anything with a particular utility from this tile, Otto?
Not really. I would just go with your latest suggestion there. Just go at the top, place it next to the 1 point city of Rodaz, trying to maybe get like a triangle or another triple city, and and then try to prevent that city from being completed. Because even though the field looks like very small at the moment, it can grow relatively easily to maybe 9, 12, even 15 points in some cases. And then at that point, we would definitely like to have that extra one meeple battle as the advantage.
Oh, so that's actually interesting. So, and Carl anticipates the growth of the field, so that's why he decides to not only go with our suggestion, but also even drop a farmer. And you were saying that this field could grow up to 15 points. Try 21. So there's still a tile that goes into this square. There's still a tile that goes into this square. This city could be finished. Everything gets connected. There's still a starting tile that goes over here. Straight line goes over here. Somebody meeples the 6-point road, finishes it with a road monastery. This road monastery brings these cities together, and now we're in for your standard Brazilian field fight.
Yeah, it is definitely a long way to go there, but that would be content for all, and that's why we are here for. We are all about the content, but maybe a little bit too hopeful even for the streamers for a 21-point field to muster up from that. And wow, Rodaz makes a very interesting move. Let's say let's keep the things calm.
It's fine. Yeah, you can do you, Otto. You can do you. I can see you're almost like fighting with yourself to say like how. I mean, I don't think it's a good move. Like, I don't think it's a good move. It actually could end up working out. I just again doubt the prioritization here. I would have preferred either recovering my city or maybe even better abusing the city of 71 knives on the left. Like, not allowing shenanigans like this. A 4-point tile for our opponents for free when they just have one meeple and we can keep crushing them? No way, not on my watch. So maybe there was a chance to actually place this tile over here on the left, also making sure that yellow needs the starting tile in 2 places, as we're kind of running short on city plus road tiles, very, very short. So there are only the starting tiles remaining. We're run out of daggers, almost only 1 dagger remaining. Now, of course, red, when it's too late, start chasing up a little bit. A yellow city, yellow can try and run away. And so there's a bit of a cat and mouse situation. Overall, I actually like the idea of attacking the ruin, because there's a lot of big tiles remaining, like Doritos, triple cities and stuff, with no obvious places to use them, so I think that could be nice. Rodaz happens to draw the 2nd starting tile, so only 1 tile remaining for this square, and he also gets a meeple back immediately, but Carl now really trying to catch up on the scoreboard with his construction project on the left. And the idea is this, that I actually like attacking the ruin, maybe just with a different tile. So the city cap we can do, we can use for something that we like, and then use those road Doritos and big tiles to overrun the big ruin for like 12-ish, 13-ish, 14-ish points. I think that could work nicely. Well, Carl with a monastery, and a difficult choice. So we could go here for 7 points. But I wonder if this meeple ever gets back. Actually, maybe it does. Hey, maybe that 7-point monastery is not such a bad idea. So let's think about it for a second. because red wants to go here. That would add us one more monastery point. And if red doesn't go here, well, that's fantastic. Then he doesn't take away our ruin. And he does it. Oh, let's go. Yeah, and I don't think I see a better move, actually. There were some defensive moves available, but as Carl, you need to really catch up on the scoring here. Rodaz decides to drop a farmer. I think that's a bit of a misplaced fight. This field is still, like, not that big. We talked about the 21 farm point potential, but it's really, really a long way until that, and that's no longer mathematically possible. But look at that! The last starting tile goes for the Moldovan, so as protected as this city was, we have the 12 percenter being drawn by the play with the red meeple, so this meeple here is trapped. This guy on the left has barely any city caps remaining, and we're probably going to see a field invasion now trying to eat up this poor little yellow guy.
Regarding the monastery that Knives played, I mean, considering that he only had one meeple in his hand, like, I do get that we are, like, kind of heavily behind that, and we need to score. But what I would have actually liked quite a lot, actually, is just to place it one tile more to the right and restrict the connection square of Rodaz to the city. Because, like, okay, if we complete this monastery, is it really worth it if Rodaz connects?
Well, yes, because it's 9 points, and the ruin is like 11, and then we can reconnect to the city. I don't know, or at least it's compensation. It's something. I mean, obviously, like, it won't work out, but and also, like, I mean, none of that matters. He drew the Dorito anyway, so he. Oh no, he didn't draw the Dorito. Actually, oh no, your stuff would have worked. It's the Belgian who drew the Dorito, and now he just goes for your idea, except he does this on the other side. Rodaz will probably go and block the city on the left, which is what he should do. There's only one city plus road tile, namely the dagger, and that's actually the wrong dagger, so there's nothing that goes here. And isn't it frustrating to get the tile that frees up your meeple and equalizes on the scoreboard, and then just to get denied right before that, like that dream being taken away before your eyes? So a bit of an emotional damage against Carl here as well.
Also, one of the reasons why I would not have actually meepled the monastery necessarily, because it was our final meeple, and there was still like quick point tiles in the deck in case we don't draw the city caps we need.
Well, Rodaz gets more city caps. He's gonna score 4 more points. There's no point in blocking that city on the left further, I believe. Well, actually, maybe there's still like a Dorito tile with a road to extend it, but this might be the... Okay, this is a penultimate city cap, I believe, or something like this. Now he just goes for the 4 points. None of that really matters a lot. Hi, Nico. 71 knives with a city tile. Might as well prolong his city on the left. I don't think anybody's... Oh, no. Of course, we're going to block that square over here if we have to. No, we don't, actually. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, so that's a complete block because there are no tile that fits over here. I think there are no Doritos, and there are no triple city tiles, so there are no cows. And there's still a Dorito with a road, so as Carl, we probably want to block this square as well at some point. And preserve the majority here. Yeah, like, honestly, Carl's idea would have worked out had he just simply completed the city, but wasn't meant to be, as it was stopped in such a brutal fashion. So, before we see where Carl places this tile over here, he might continue his city on the left, might do something else entirely. Just wanted to point out, of course, that when I'm speaking about things like emotional damage, of course, I'm being facetious here. Carl is actually quite known to be a calm and collected person on and off the board. And, say what you will about this player, but he's probably one of the players who tilts the least in the entire Carcassonne community, I would have to say. Okay, well, we lost the game. I'm just going to play another one. Well, we won a game. Well, great, we won a game. So he's very, very level-headed for the most part. He does add a point to the city on the left. Now, of course, a slight miss, as he could have turned the city at the bottom slightly differently. Now he's not able to continue it, and sadly, he just dumps the tile. I don't think that would have made any difference, especially since Rodaz gets a fantastic road monastery tile for field expansion. Not the 21-point field expansion that I was dreaming of, but a lovely 7-point move over here on the right. 4 points for the road, and a 3-point city, 3 field points more in Red's field, which of course is controlled by Red with a 2 versus 1 majority. Yeah, Red of course sees that idea. Plus 30 nearly on the scoreboard. 71 lives with a Dorito tile, and he does continue his city, but I think he does this when we actually have run out of city caps. Yeah, there are no vanillas, no splitters. I don't see anything, so sadly...
Well, the upside... Well, at least the upside there is that he actually drew every single triangle and triple city which Rodaz could have used to connect to the field, but to the ruin.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that Belgian is so lucky, that just completely ridiculous. I mean, this is what this is what Red should say in the chat after this if he wants to be toxic. But I don't think he does. I mean, the Moldovan has been a good sport throughout, seemingly. He's probably now going to meeple a monastery somewhere. Or, maybe calculating if there's still city caps remaining. But just a 5-point move at the top should do it. I don't see any scoring tiles remaining. Crossroads are out. Yeah, so I guess we just go here, get a road tile or something. And that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Yeah, wait, no, there is nothing indeed to connect on the right. Yeah, I guess just don't lose on time. That's the main thing that we need to do.
Is there any reason to go next to the Monastery of Knives? Are there any curves or crossroads remaining which Knives could get 3 more points? Just for style reasons?
Wait, how would... Of course, yeah. This is a 3-point farmer here. It's not a 6-point farmer even. So actually the Belgian hasn't even claimed that little field that he was so interested in earlier on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1 curve remaining. But Red decides just to dump this monastery, maybe blocking the square just in case, even though there are no daggers. He wants to be extra sure. Daggers are notoriously difficult to count. For most players who struggle with counting, many say that this is the single most difficult tile to keep track of, so he just doesn't want to trust his own counting, decides to block this just in case.
Yeah, and in the position that Rodaz is in, I mean, he doesn't. Well, he can afford to do stuff like that. He doesn't really need to make any extra counts. He can just go with the flow and be like, I'm not taking the chances of miscounting, but I'm not gonna have the time to, or I'm not gonna bother actually counting properly.
Yeah, and this is exactly what happens. So, not the most optimal endgame for the Moldovan, but it will get the job done for sure. As this one becomes a bit more of a one-sided game, so definitely some fortunate draws, but again, overall quite well played for the Moldovan. Maybe a bit of unnecessary risks in a couple of places. But overall, he didn't even get all that lucky, so lots of city caps. But again, he didn't get the Dorito tiles to connect to his city. And Carl seemed to have done what he could, just not enough in this instance. So the players trading blows in the first 2 games. We will find out the score difference in just a second, but this is great for neutral observers because, again, for the nth time on the stream, the match will be headed to a decider.
That is indeed fantastic news, because we get to scout more. That's what it means.
Right. I'm kind of curious what kind of intel you're gathering, like how this will impact your match with whoever ends up winning. So
Well, it's really. I'm not sure if it is wise to play my cards or reveal my cards here, but let's put some taste in there. One thing I'm seeing is that Rodaz is a bit more inclined to take a bit more risks instead of just playing the safe way, which might be something that comes in handy, or which becomes possibly the doom of me. Maybe I have to do some extra careful play, not leave any like additional attacking spots to big features, stuff like that. I mean, preferably I would actually not want to play super safe, because that's not fun. But I will do whatever it takes for me to try and secure any wins.
Well, doing whatever it takes is certainly the right approach. I have a feeling that you've been withholding some information. You're definitely keeping something for yourself here, because you know that I'm not sure about Rodaz. I think he might be watching also. I think Carl tends to watch these streams often enough, so everything that you can say can and will be used against you. I've also experienced this myself. Like, the amount of games that I lost in person because of stuff I had said on my channel, but that's fine. Totally worth it. Anyway, we're having a new game here. Now Carl with the advantage because he gets the first starting player, and a yellow meeple immediately is descending upon this little city, and 4 points are being added to 71 knives, maybe like a little Leuven over here or something like this. And Rodaz is building an interesting Death Star-ish road, kind of like this round shape, so that's already a bit of an unorthodox move. He chose to meeple a road not directly, but kind of trying to build this road as a curve, and I think the purpose of that was eliminating monastery spots. Now he does get equalized on the scoreboard and can start a new city, so that's all is great. But his road building technique backfires a little bit as this square is somewhat restricted. As Carl thinks where to place this quadruple city tall, he does decide very quickly to add it to Rodaz, planning to attack his city in the future. I wonder what you think, Otto, about this earlier technique earlier on. The road building technique, rather, by Red.
I have to say I don't particularly like it, because the only benefit is that you don't leave a 4-point monastery spot, or sometimes a 5-point monastery spot, but like your opponent can just as well go on the other side, and with this technique that Rodaz used, the monastery would still be controlling heavily the road on at least one side, and potentially could even still stack another monastery on the left, not really even caring about the completion of the monasteries, but simply by simply due to the reason that the monasteries would be enough at 16 points versus a controlled road of maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 6 points.
So that's sort of 10 points per meeple. Well, these are of course subtleties that will end up not occurring in these games, but it's always interesting to discuss those hypotheticals, because you should base your strategy on not what does occur, but what could occur and all the possible outcomes. So Rodaz is the one who gets the monastery, tries to start it at the top, supporting his city and the road. Very nice placement. There was an alternative as well, but in the meantime, a big city fight. Red invades, yellow reinvades. This, of course, will donate a 3-point road to Rodaz in no likelihood when he draws a crossroads, but That's certainly a price worth paying for a nice, juicy, voluptuous 16 or 14-point city, depending on which tile is being drawn. That's why the Moldovans trying really hard to find a platform to re-attack it. A slight statistical favorite for Red to get bailed out after Carl has drawn the road, which is not a city tile. Being captain obvious here a little bit. Well, let's see what he does with it. It's actually not obvious to me at all. Do you just start a 2-point on the road on the left and ignore everything? Or do you instead prefer and start some counterattacks? If Red is successful on countering our invasion, then maybe try and put some pressure on Rodaz's monasteries and road.
I like the decision of Knives here, just placing more and more pressure on the road, potentially limiting it to the quad crossroad, like Knives does here, and it certainly is not the most pleasant situation for Rodaz with his monastery at the top to be potentially limited even further. Starting a 2-point road, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's nice and all to have 2-point road, but with like almost all the crossroads remaining, but like it's a 2-point road. I mean, I think the potential blocking had more value here.
And value does he extract, so he does continue with the block, as you said, so the 50-50 block for the road, but most importantly, look at this completed city. He draws a Dorito before Rodaz does, 18 points on the scoreboard, and now a substantial lead for the Belgians. So I was wondering, what's the Flemish for ka-cha-ching? Maybe some of our viewers could be advised, because this is what Carl must be saying to himself in his head.
Certainly so, with all those juicy shields as well, with half the tiles of the city being shields. I mean, it must be just a gorgeous sight to look at for Knives.
Yeah, like, I mean, normally continuing the city is good enough, but I feel like these extra points from the shield, it's more like that psychological advantage. It's like, not only will I get your money, but will also, like, I will get your money and beat you up. I'm not sure, it's just so demoralizing. But actually, Red is still not doing all that badly, because these monasteries will score points. Red now, to his credit, goes for the content moves and tries to go for a risky move that threatens the fate of 2 meeples, but if he gets a road Dorito, it's super efficient. He gets a 6-point city or even an 8-point city over here and gets to expand his monastery. But Carl immediately tries to attack that square real hard. Probably Rodaz needs to defend. I mean, the kind of a standard defensive move over here with the curve sticking in yellow city. You know, denying cow tiles. Dorito, not like that! Oh, no.
That is tragic, and it becomes immediately punished.
Yeah.
This might be just the Rings of Doom ringing very soon here. I mean, okay, it's not over yet, but it's like, it's such a horrible situation for Red here.
Yeah, and it may seem unlucky, but no. Red did it to himself. I'm also surprised that, like, so far in this match, Red played so well. Even some of his more questionable decisions, they had some deeper thoughts behind this. But, like, this is just some tactical stuff that you have to know. So the point is, if you turn it with the curve facing into 71 Knife City, the probability of you successfully bringing these 2 meeples out alive is just higher. Like, it's just math. It's as simple as that. You get more defense tiles, and you get fewer blocking tiles for your opponents. And actually, like, let's actually do the math here a little bit, because, like, I don't think, well, Red will be extremely hard for Red to come back. I'm not sure what he will need to do. He will certainly need the quadruple row tile and then a few miracles after that. Let's just have a think about this. So, if he turns the curve facing down, then 71 Knives has only 3 proper blocking tiles. The 3 daggers, right? None of them have gone out, the left-handed daggers, I mean. But if he, with this tile over here, 71 Knives had, at the time of the move, 2 road Doritos available, 2 vanilla city caps, and 2 splitters. So this is 6 blocking tiles. What is better, to give your opponent 6 blocking tiles or to give your opponent 3 blocking tiles? You tell me. Of course, 6 tiles. The more blocking tiles for my opponent is better, says the Moldovan player. And sadly for him, this will probably... this is probably the tournament life for him. As 71 Knives, of course, finishes another city point, 6-point city on the right, making his scoreboard leave even more pleasant to look at for Belgian fans and unpleasant to look at for the Moldovan fans. But very interesting. It's interesting to me how the consequences of this move will play out for Rodaz and his playing style afterwards. Because I think what he might... The conclusion that you might make, a wrong conclusion that you might make, is that starting the city was in this semi-vulnerable position was a mistake in the first place. I don't think so. I actually really like this move. It's efficient and creative. But if you're going to start cities in these semi-dangerous spots like this, then you just really have to... know your sort of basic tactics very, very well so that you know how to follow it up properly. But sadly for Red, this is not what's going to happen. He's still fighting to his credit, dropping a farmer over here, pre-finishing his road, leaving an empty city cap that will be taken advantage of, but it's just a risk that he needs to take. 71 Knives with a splitter, probably going to go over here. It's just a question of where to turn that other city cap. But this is just a technicality. We'll of course still try and find both moves for both opponents. Rodaz seems like somebody who cares about playing well until the very end. Just going to catch up on the chat a little bit. Craft Giraffe is saying, when you play versus Carl in real life, the most frustrating is not the fact that he finishes the 8-point city, but the fact that he does this with a straight face. As somebody who played against Carl and lost against Carl in the in-person 2024 Mind Sports Olympiads in London, I can absolutely confirm that this is the case. Rodaz now with a monastery, but no meeples to meeple. I wonder if we meeple it anyway, but it does sound like a little bit too much. So probably like a 1-point move over here, trying to build up the monastery at the bottom to get some firepower seems to be the way to go. But let's see if the Moldovan comes up with something else, as my special guest is probably already mentally preparing for 71 Knives as his next opponent in the consolidated finals.
I'm not going to reveal anything, but it does look like the probabilities would be on the side of Knives.
Yeah, actually I'm trying... So I think a fun exercise here is to estimate, like, what are the actual winning chances of Red with, like, the best moves possible?
I mean, for that to happen, I mean, I'm gonna say straight up, I'm not going to start counting percentages because I will be very bad at that in these situations. Like, I can do some rough percentage counts, but like I don't do as hardcore stuff as you sometimes. But for me, it's about like what tiles do we need, and like if we draw all the best tiles immediately, like right now, then how then are we even in the game anymore even at that point? Because like the absolute best scenarios here would be for obviously the quad crossroad, but then also the final remaining dagger, and then a splitter right after for Rodaz to get the quad city out for his own benefit, which is never going to happen anymore. So that's kind of lost there, which was, I mean, it was never a real option anyways, but at this stage, I'm more like playing with the thoughts of what could happen in the absolute best world.
Yeah, well, in the absolute so that's definitely a great way to think for both sides. So as red, you're still trying to hold on to what I think is less than 1%, maybe like 0.3, 0.4 is certainly a couple of games in 1,000 that we do win. We're trying to hold on to that, and then as Carl, we just think to prevent that, and so very wisely, red does connect to the city and make sure that it does not get completed. Now, this move is double-edged. At first, I started to really squirming and squinting about this because red did not take the 3 points immediately, which would also be somewhat obstructive for yellow's monastery, but actually, maybe red has now another plan. Now that this city is still completable, maybe we can get the quadruple road tile quickly. That's a non-negotiable for all our possible win conditions and aspirations. And then we get something like a extender tile, go up top, Dorito, dagger, triple city, Dorito, build up the city for 30 points, and then we're probably back, actually. Then we're doing just fine. An unlikely sequence, but one that we should probably go for nonetheless.
And one which Niles possibly should be worried about because he's so far ahead that he doesn't even he doesn't seemingly worry about stuff like that all too much here. He just goes for the more standard moves, which makes sense on the board, but he is not really like. What I think he should be doing is just take care of or like start taking care of the most unlikely risks that can score huge amounts of points for Rodaz, because if those do not become reality, I don't think it matters all that much what Nice does.
Yeah, because I think like when you're in a big lead, and your opponent has certain threats, or even even if your opponent is not aware of them, red potentially taking over the city is a threat that at some point will need to be addressed, and there are several ways of doing that. And in order to eliminate those kind of scenarios, well, first of all, there's this route. You could just draw the dagger that fits into that square, and now we know that this city is not going to be completed. So you see, Carl here is like 3 steps away from us, while, you know, I'm not going to waste tiles on blocking if I can just draw the tiles. You see, that's much smarter. But there are typically 2 routes that you can go. One is preventing. You know, dropping some prophylactic moves, some blocking tiles upstairs, maybe like a straight line, or like a Dorito over here to make the city a little bit longer. You know, if there is a big field, maybe you spend some tiles on like blocking entries and so on, so that's kind of prophylaxis. Another approach is simply outrunning. It is saying, okay, even if you get the best possible tiles, I'm going to create such counter threats in other parts of the board. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to build, and make sure that even in the best case scenario for you, I still win because I just have so many more points. The second route is not always possible, and whether that's possible or not, that really depends on the exact lead on the scoreboard that is at the moment, on the exact number of remaining tiles, and a lot of subtle factors. Well, now Mr. Knives here gets a fantastic tile. This is the extender that we were talking about, and I think he is prepared to use it. Yeah, and there we go. He invades the ruin, which will be worth like at least 9 points. The Moldovan here, well, respect for fighting, but honestly, like, I don't like conceding games, but it might be one of those where an exception is not the worst. Like, by the way, interesting. So, like, as the winning side, of course, it makes sense what to do. We should discuss this. But, like, as Rodaz, Otto, so how do you even approach a position like this?
I think I would. Well, first of all, I would try like vigorously to get my monastery meeple back from the bottom to have like a second meeple to play with. You know, assuming that we don't get, or well, maybe we, at this point, maybe I would have to assume that I get the quad crossroad as well. But the monastery at the bottom would be kind of a like a very, very high priority for me, because that would then allow me to actually place a second farmer, or then a second meeple on the ruin, which are both like the main features on this board right now. So, and both of them will be certainly a key for any sort of winning path for Rodaz at the moment.
Yeah, I certainly agree about the monastery, but actually, he just simply has not been drawing tiles that fit into that square at all. Like, this monastery is just so impenetrable. Again, a straight line. You can't go over here. Of like slightly harassing Carl's city. That's about the best that you can do. Carl can build up his monastery on the right, pre-build a nice road for himself as well, and he can even still have chances to invade and take away the main field from red.
Yeah, that is something what I picked up on as well. Like, there just haven't been any tiles that would aid the monastery here. But what I did like was that Rodaz built this this lefternmost city on the field of knives. Not really because it gets more points for knives or more points to the field, but because it creates the connection opportunities to the field later on, when and if and when we must attack the field, most likely again. Because without that, we didn't really have much, and the actual main field here is only worth 9 points anyway. So if we go for the field route, we need the field to be like as big as humanly possible.
Right, yes, that's an excellent point. So even though you're adding points to your opponent's field in the short term, it kind of fits well into your long plan of the game. Yeah, because again, like, the plan includes to free up this monastery, which finally Rodaz managed to catch up on a little bit, but 71 Knives will of course finish another city at the top, making the city at the bottom even more vulnerable. Poor Moldova here, as 45 points and 2 meeples are in the possession of Carl. One more monastery points. Come on, like, I feel that he will consolidate his meeples. He will get this tile, but so close to the end of the game that he will just not be able to use his meeples. But still, this is part of the plan. So we consolidate first, and then we use the resources to claim a big feature, which might actually be not the field even, but perhaps this big ruin. I believe there's still a couple of tiles available to make that happen, just because the ruin is a little bit more valuable. It will be like 15, 16. You know, with all these extra invasions, maybe like with a Dorito over here. There's still one. No, there are no Doritos. Yeah, it's very, very tough. And it requires patience, because you actually need to wait until you get the meeples back. And you also, if you don't get the meeples back, well, you just need to acknowledge that you wouldn't have won anyway. So, new city for 71 Knives, and some vulnerabilities against the field, the monastery. Now, a tragic tile actually for Rodaz, because he cannot take value from it. That's also one of the things which are behind. You really want to have a meeple in hand so that you can take advantage of tiles like this, but no quick points for the Moldovan scoreboard, but yes, quick points for 71 Knives, as probably continuing his city on the left for 3 extra points is the thing to go. And this is exactly what happens. Curvy tile for Rodaz. Well, we could block Carl's monastery, not that it matters, but sure, that would probably be the best move here.
Probably so. I mean, can we try and save our monastery in any way? Is it even worthwhile? No, I don't think so.
I think it was technically possible to defend our monastery because there's still one extender tile, and there are no daggers, so like saving it would make sense. But it just seems that as the quadruple city tile is even drawn by the Belgian, then here Rodaz is truly throwing in the towel.
Yeah, unfortunately so. And even now, I mean, to turn the knife in the wound, Rodaz needs the same type of tiles to both his 2-point city at the top and to release the monastery.
Well,
Because there is like one splitter and I think at least one or two field triangles, maybe some other city caps to get the monastery back, but I'm not sure. I haven't counted as much.
there are tiles like this which can give him the meeple back. Which also happens to drop a city cap in Carl's field, but I guess you do what you have to do. And there was still the extender available, but Carl just has a meeple on the road. And he will now continue his road and... actually, I don't know, but it seems like a good move. Or maybe just taking 4 points on the right is a good move also. But also the thing is, like, toward the end of the game, when the game has been decided, then probably any move is a good move for both parties because they are all equally good because they lead to the same winning chance. So, I don't know, if you just drop a monastery somewhere like up north, it's just as good. Like, it gives you 100% win, so...
That is true, but you know, for the sake of the stream, they might pay some attention to the final move still.
Yeah, but also like it could be a bit. Well, obviously it's the end of the match, like so it doesn't matter now. But if this were the first or the second game, sometimes just dropping tiles in random places of the board can be a bit of psychological warfare. Like, oh look, I can even add points to your features, and I'm gonna win anyway. Although in a bit closer games, I like when players like misevalue the situations and they accidentally lose. Oh, that's like the best thing ever.
Yeah, I can't say I have seen much of those, but
I have seen a couple. It doesn't happen very often now, but I think that's simply because on Board Game Arena in the last couple of years, just the players' ethics have been improved a lot. I generally notice that like people are less likely to be nasty in the chat, less likely to complain about luck. Like, things have actually been getting better overall, which is a great thing. Rodaz, oh, the lucky Moldovan gets the lucky splitter. The last tile, I mean, and he finishes even a 10-point city.
Which sadly, even that is a net negative move compared to knives, compared to the final move of knives, which has to hurt even further because now he connects the fields and there's something to it when your best possible tile remaining in the deck is still worse than your opponent's.
Yeah, and also it was 100% chance because the last remaining tiles in the deck were the Dorito and the Splitter, which both are good enough to complete that connection. Well, anyway, like, just because he got all these 2 child draws, this is not to say that the Belgian did not deserve it, because first of all, we need to remember, like, this 18-point city actually required some proper attacking, so that was very nice, and Carl was behind at the time, and I think the game ended up a bit earlier than it had to, because part of this, well, with this move, of course, over here, that's what decided the game. I think that's simply a lack of experience or lack of knowledge. I don't think that was an actual misclick. I can see some possible reasons why Red must have thought it might be the better move, but for players who have played like a few hundred of games in Carcassonne tournaments, like placing the curve the other way, it's almost automatic just because it's a situation that you encountered before and you don't even need to think about. So just simply a question of knowledge. But overall, despite his loss today, he was facing, quite the opponents. Certainly, Carl gave him lots of trouble, and that's what led to the victory. And I have to say, I was actually really impressed with the Moldovan. Especially, I was impressed with him in the first game, which he lost. So he did lose it, but he had some tricky situations where he needed the same tile in multiple places, and he actually managed to always think a little bit, use his time very well, and he just really gave his best in that first game, which wasn't enough. In the second game, it was more than enough. And, well, the third game went how it went, plus 53 points with 71 knives. He was so close to actually winning this game with a 71-point difference, which I think would have really driven the point home. Then that's going to be it. So players are exchanging some pleasantries in the chat. Yeah, so Rodaz is saying that was the critical block which decided the game. That is correct. And Carl, of course, pointing out that the curve should have been pointed the other way. Yeah, of course, Carl has been around the block long enough to just simply know this stuff. Let's see if... Okay, I just want to watch the chat here. It's very interesting.
Looks like Knives is already taking some mental preparation, just like me.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a great match, actually. Well, the 50-50 for the quadruple crossers didn't really matter that much. And also, actually, it still required some skill from 71 knives, because the idea, having this road blocked towards a 50-50 was simply 71 knives' natural response against the threat of red equalizing his city. So this was actually not the most obvious sequence to find. Yeah, but you see, so Rodaz is saying that 3 out of 5 vanilla city caps were out, so he thought that there was a low chance. But, as I said before, there are also the splitters and the Doritos as well, so maybe he just simply possibly didn't account for those tiles as well.
Yeah, and I had to add to that even the cow tiles are not particularly great for Rodaz. They don't block the features, but they are still going to force him to use a quick point tile, or maybe in some scenarios a more valuable tile in city fights to just equalize his 1-point city with a 2-point city of knives, just for the chance of maybe getting out the monastery.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. So we were just looking at the worst possible scenario, and there were, the 6 blocking tiles were for maximum pain. There's of course these options here as well, and also interesting. If you turn the curve down, there's of course always the option for red to draw a Dorito tile with a road and face it to the left. So this is the the exact kind of variation that you were talking about, except instead of the cow tile, you get the road Dorito, and then it forces Rodaz to use the horse tile, the triple city tile with the road here to connect for a chance to finish his monastery. But I think one extra benefit from pointing the curve downwards is this. So due to the fact that the number of true blocking tiles are low, so the worst case scenario occurs only in the case of the 3 daggers, then it's a big question, what does Carl do if he draws something like a barbed wire tile? Then he might wait for the proper blocking tile, but if he doesn't, but if you just leave this open, Rodaz might simply finish his city and then later obstruct 71 knife city and block it completely. So in certain situations, yellow is actually incentivized to complete the city with a city cap which defends red's city as a side effect, just to get his own yellow meeple out of this situation. And It's a bit of a subtle situation because it depends a lot on the timing of the run out of tiles, but it's a scenario that sometimes happens as well. Right, have we exhausted this, or do you have any other thoughts to share with our viewers, Otto, about either that situation or the match in general?
Well, I mean, couple words I wanna say about Rodaz, even though you made the honorable commiserations earlier, but overall for Rodaz, certainly credit for him putting up a fight here, but I think my initial thoughts on how he handled the pressure today was somewhat accurate. What I thought was going to happen in my head. So Rodaz seemed like more of a, let's say, more of a fluctuable person when it comes to the overall performance in several games, like over time. Like sometimes you do a little worse, sometimes you do a little better, and not only due to the tiles, but like in the first game, like you said, he found some great prioritization, and now I think his game stance kind of more or less, it didn't collapse, but it became like it just went down the slide a little bit, and he wasn't able to do as great in the follow-up games. But if Rodaz, if you are listening to this or watching the stream, then I do want to say that please take your time and think about everything we said, because I think most of that will be aiding you in your journey in the future, and will help you to get more wins under your belt in case you are going to be participating, and hopefully so, in the future competitive leagues and tournaments.
Well, that is certainly very nice of you, Otto. So on that positive note, we will not be finishing because I want to catch up with the chat a little bit. Hi 71 Knives, congrats on your win. Very well played indeed. Crafteraf is saying that Carl actually won the first game with an 18-point difference and the second game with a 53-point difference. So that combines for 71 points over the total of 2 games. So how beautiful is that? And then the last thing remaining is to just have a look at the bracket. So we know that, sadly, to Rodaz, we'll be saying goodbye. But 71 Knives, Finland against Belgium, this is our next lower final. So 2 rounds are separating you, Otto, and Carl, who's in the chat, from a place in the Champions League. That would be a most interesting rematch. If I have any say in this, then try to schedule this match for as late a date as possible so that I can actually stream it. But, you know, of course, do your own priorities first. And
I can already say that I won't be playing any matches like on 24th or 25th, maybe not even on the 26th. So I don't know though if like later on, I'm not sure what the deadline actually is, but considering that there are still 2 matches, I don't want to be keeping the organizers waiting for too long just for the sake of getting the matches streamed.
Well, yeah, because especially like if, well, whoever you wins, they will also need to play the consolidated finals afterwards. You're probably going to leave a couple of days for that. Let's just finish by looking at the next plans. So Nico Velleman is saying that you guys can go for it right now. Honestly, I wouldn't object to that. Like, I would just show it right now, literally. Like, if Carl, you're up for... Oh, I guess Otto would have a bit of an advantage because, like, Carl must be tired after having to think for 3 games straight. Selfishly, I'd love that. Like, objectively, probably not the best idea. But I love Nico being the devil of on my shoulder here. So...
Okay, now that the challenge has been thrown, if Knives confirms that, I will do it.
That would be awesome. It's now 9 p.m. in Belgium. That's not even that late. Yeah, Knives is saying 1 duel per day. That is the wise approach. Like, this is the approach of the man who can finish an 18-point city with a straight face. Alrighty, so but today we're actually very likely to have one more match because I have like some personal things to do, and they might, my work might take me into the night. So there are big chances that I won't be sleeping today is 2 a.m. And this is still the case. I'm actually gonna take like an hour break to show y'all Kaika versus Crocodile Fundy. I won't make you do it, Otto, because I assume in Finland it's gonna be like 4 a.m. Then afterwards, Lycos versus Dark Passenger, interesting match we cannot show. Sanaki versus Purgard, interesting match. There's a very small chance that I would be able to stream this. Yeah, because these dates are really, really rough. And 29th of December, we already have a game scheduled, that the consolidated final of Qualification 4, where I will be taking on none other than the rising Taiwanese star Miss Penguin. But that, of course, will be happen off stream because probably going to need to focus for that one. Yeah, and then there will be some other upcoming matches which are not scheduled yet. Siegfried versus Squall is going to be a banger. Mick Crag versus Norbert's 98. It's 96. My teammate should be really good as well. So there might be some streams with very, very short notice. As the closer we are to the end of the qualification cycle and to the end of the year, the games might be streamed, scheduled on a short notice as well. So just make sure to subscribe and click the bell notification icon if you want to find out about future streams. And make sure to meet with the like button for the algorithm. It helps more than y'all might think. Alrighty, and then that's going to be it. Thank you so much, Otto, for joining. And thank y'all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon. And I've